Buckets in the Ball podcast with your hosts, Claire Stoops and Savayah Mitchell. And the show starts now.
Welcome back for episode 6 of the Two Buckets in a Ball Hoopcast. We apologize for the delay in getting this episode out, but we've been in the middle of travel ball season and things have been super busy. The focus of this episode today is to explore and learn about travel ball.
There are so many circuits and clubs and levels that it's tough for you to find out which one's the best for you. But luckily for us and you all, we will be interviewing Coach Danny Riego today to better understand this space.
Danny has been coaching travel ball for many years and has been part of multiple circuits, so he's the perfect guest to break it all down for us.
Before we get into the interview, Claire and I are going to talk about our experience through this season with the focus on our live events. For those who don't know, the live period is when college coaches can attend games for recruiting purposes.
Savayah, this is your second year playing on the Under Armour circuit for 15U. What is the biggest difference from year 1 to year 2?
So I feel like I understand now, like I'm more confident, like my development, and I know what to expect now. Like from the teams, everybody is gonna be probably like bigger and stronger than me since they already play high school ball. So like really trying to face that, like playing with my team more, trying to hit them and see what I could do off the ball, stuff like that.
What do you mean by like playing with your team more?
Like getting them involved and them getting me involved, like all playing together, really.
Where were your live events so far, and what was the atmosphere like at your live events?
So my first one was in Ohio, and my second one was in Georgia. And the second one wasn't really our UAA, though. It was just a live period. So it was loud. It was really intense, too. Like it was a lot. Like when you get an N1, they screaming, all that. And there was a lot of college coaches there.
What do you think the biggest difference was from your UAA live period to your other live period?
UAA, I feel like it meant more, like for like everybody, because like the live period in Georgia wasn't really UAA, so it don't count on your record. So we still 5-0 in UAA, you know.
Yeah. Who were the best players or teams that you got to see during your live events?
A lot of them, really. Like, especially so like when we played in Georgia, it was some UAA teams there. We would want to beat them, bad. Like, so like if we lost, we wouldn't be as mad, but we would want to see them again in UAA, really.
Who was the best team you played in Georgia?
Let me think about that. Maybe FBC United.
Why?
Jaden McClain.
How'd you guys defend her?
We had to help, like, dig down. Man, and she can shoot, so that's not all she could do. And they got this one little guard. I think she's in 7th grade. She cold. I ain't gonna lie, she's shifty. And you know how I try to play 94 feet?
Yeah.
Go ahead, back up. Go ahead, back up.
The next live period is in July. What's your main focus going into that next live period?
Being way more aggressive and communicating in 94 feet every time.
So picking up 94 feet?
Yes, because I would, like, if I'm being aggressive, Danny would keep me in, but my stamina was like, get tired, you know, so I would stop doing 94 feet,
Yeah, when you mean being aggressive, like scoring more or getting your teammates more involved?
Both.
Okay.
Both. Claire, this is your first year playing 15U. I know that the first time playing in front of college coaches is overwhelming. Can you talk about your experience?
Yeah, my first live period was in Rock Hill, South Carolina with the first Adidas stop. We all met at Coach Nick's house at 4 a.m. and then my teammates and I rode 10 hours down to South Carolina.
What'd y'all do on the road? Like sleep?
Everybody was sleeping. I had tons of homework, so, I guess it's a good way to do your homework.
I'd be sleeping too, the whole ride.
But when we got to the gym, it was time for Thursday's practice. But before that, we took some team pictures. We had a few interviews with the media team, and then we walked into the gym to do our practice. And once I got to the gym, man, I was just shocked. I mean, it's an incredible atmosphere. All the Adidas banners hanging up, it really lights a fire in you, and you just want to go out there and play like right now in that moment. Right. But our first game was on Friday. We played at noon, and there was a lot of coaches there for our first game, and I was a little bit overwhelmed. But then I just realized, you just got to treat it like any other game. You just got to really block them out. But we went 2-2 that stop. I didn't play as well as I should have, and my team didn't move the ball very well. But that starts with me since I'm the point guard.
Right.
But it was a really great experience overall, and my team learned a lot from it. Although, I would not recommend losing by 20 points your last game with a 10-hour car ride home. That was rough.
Yeah.
Do not do that.
Wait, so y'all roll home on the bus?
Yeah.
I would have to go to
After a
sleep.
20-point loss, that was
I
not
would have
good.
to go to sleep.
That was a little rough, guys.
What changes did you make from the first event in April to the second event in May?
So my second live event was in Texas. We played just a few minutes outside of the Texas A&M campus, and I played really well in Texas, and my team did too. We went 3-1 with our loss coming to a really good team called Delalam. I mean, we had film study on them, and we watched all their offensive sets, but when we got in the game, I mean, they just threw a counter at everything we did, and like they play really, really well together. So that was a tough loss, but I mean, I thought we played pretty hard, but we'll get them next time.
No, for sure.
But the biggest change I made from my first stop to my second stop was just playing within myself, like controlling what I can control and not doing anything that I don't normally do, just playing like myself.
Right.
I scored the ball really well this stop, but I feel like I set the tone on defense, and that's one of our team's biggest strengths. Our coaches really emphasize defense, and that's what I thought I did well that tournament, as well as rebounding. I rebounded way better in Texas than I did in South Carolina, and overall our team really bounced back from our Rock Hill performance. But what I also did in Texas is my dad decided to take me out to get Texas barbecue. I gotta be honest, not my favorite, way too spicy. Never again. I could tell that he was disappointed though, but I was like, Dad, I can't eat this.
In the Adidas circuit, who were some of the players and teams that stood out to you?
In the 15U division, some of the teams that stood out to me were Delalam, Hoop Code, and Always 100. Hoop Code is always applying constant pressure on the ball, and they score at a super high clip. I remember they scored over 100 points in a game, which is crazy because of the running clock rule. And then Always 100, I mean, they have Janiah Cooper on it. I was watching one of their games, and they threw her a lob. I was like, all right, she's about to dunk it. But she didn't, but it's still, like, she's incredible.
Yeah.
I also watch a lot of the 17U games. Some of the players that stood out to me there were Kate Harpering, which she's one of my favorite players. She plays on Southeast All-Stars along with Bella Ragone, who just committed to Notre Dame. Congrats, Bella.
Okay.
And they're both one of the top 2 prospects in the 2026 class. So that team is really, really good. Also, Big O, who plays for Northwest Greyhounds. She's the one that you guys always see dunking on social media. She's insane. But besides from her athleticism, she has insane handle. I mean, I saw her hit her defender with an inside-out cross multiple times, and it was nasty. I'm like, at this point, it's even unfair. How do you guard her? But also, you know, Special K, Kalina Smith, who plays for 7 Days. She's the top-rated 2027 prospect in the nation. She's incredible. I mean, you can't double her because she's such a good passer, but she's an insane scorer with elite handle, elite shooting, super shifty. So she's incredible as well. But overall, I just love watching all these games. I mean, as soon as the gym opens, I want to get there, like right after our morning film session. We'll try to get there, watch the games, and not leave until it closes. And like, it's just an amazing atmosphere to be a part of and play in, and there's so many great players that I can watch and learn from.
Right.
We'll talk more about the live events and recruiting in a future episode, but just want to share some initial thoughts with you all.
Now we're going to talk to Coach Riego and learn more about the ins and outs about travel basketball.
Thank you for joining us today, Coach. We really appreciate it. The purpose of this interview is to provide educational material on travel ball. We aren't going to focus on any specific programs, but we're going to learn more about the different circuits and the options out there for players and their families. To start off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, including your coaching and where you started coaching?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun. I've been coaching a long time. I actually got my coaching, well, my name is Danny Riego. I got my coaching start actually in CYO basketball, you know, just as kind of a way to kind of get involved in the community, and I used it for like networking purposes for work, and I never imagined that it would turn into what it like turned into for me. I mean, it's definitely not my profession, as I always like to joke. It's kind of turned into my obsession though. But from CYO, I actually held an Adidas contract before the circuits all started in Central Indiana for a while. When the EYBL started, I was recruited to the Nike Club out of Indianapolis to coach there. And then due to some circumstances, I ended up moving over to Under Armour. But all in all, I guess I've probably been coaching for over 20 years, and it's just kind of been just a passion of mine. Did I get good at it? Sure, but at the end of the day, I do it because it's forged a lot of relationships that have been just a big part. I've got a super supportive family that all really loves it too. And with the growth of women's basketball now it doesn't seem so odd that somebody like me dumped 20 years into women's basketball, because it's one of the best things going right now.
Right. You have coached a lot of really great basketball players over the years, so we have some tough rapid-fire questions for you to get us started. Best shooter you have ever coached?
Okay. First of all, rapid and my answers will never collide, okay? So you can ask the questions rapidly, okay? Best shooter. I get asked this question a lot, okay? Courtney Moses was up there who set 3 p.m. records at Purdue. Carissa McLaughlin, who followed in her footsteps at Purdue, is up there. Jayla Smith is up there. Maya Makaluski is up there. We got a kid on our basketball team named Molly Ernstis from Jennings County. I mean, that kid can absolutely spin it too. So we've had really good shooters on our basketball teams. The answer to the question, though, is Darby Maggard. And Darby was high school class of 2015 out of Canterbury High School. There's a lot of people that associate me with Darby Maggard. The reason why she's the answer, little 5'4" guard. She's actually the head coach at Huntington right now. But when she went to Belmont to play her college basketball, at one point in time, she had climbed to 3rd in all-time 3 PMs in women's college basketball history. So to be able to do it at that level, to do it at high school, to do it in the EYBL, and then to do it collegiately, I mean, that kid she had an absolute clip.
What about the best team you've ever coached?
Well, the most talented team I've ever coached was the 2016 team that finished second in the EYBL. That's the team that had, I guess it would be 3 McDonald's All-Americans. That's the team that had Jackie Young, Dana Evans, Lindsay Corsaro. Those were the McDonald's All-Americans. That team also had, all of the role players that it needed. That's the easy answer. I mean, anytime you have the number 1 pick in the WNBA draft, it's like, how does that not be the best team, right? But basketball's funny. Like, we won a lot of basketball games that year because we were super talented. The team before, which was the first team to ever represent Indianapolis in the EYBL, was Darby Maggard's team. And it had Tiara Murphy, who went on to Purdue, Lamina Cooper, who went on to Purdue, Victoria Gaines, who went to Michigan State. It had Jenna Allen, Allie Patberg, who's on staff at Indiana University. Corsaro was on that basketball team. That team was loaded, and we were running through people. When you play basketball, and certainly when you coach basketball, and you girls will get this because you've played with talented teams, and you've played on good teams, and you've played on talented teams that haven't been good teams. Something about that team just worked. They just understood their role. They understood what we were trying to do. They were cohesive, and we've had some really talented teams. The Parrish teams were really, really good. Our team last year, with Mason, Makaluski, and ZTP, those teams were really tough too. But I think that first ever basketball team that I coached in the EYBL with Maggard, there's a lot of people that still associate me on the circuits with that basketball team because we were so good. That team actually lost in the Final Four. We were upset.
Was 3 the most McDonald's All-Americans you ever had on a single team?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know. That is something now that, I mean, there's only 24 of them, right? I mean, to have 3 of them. We had a basketball team last year in one of the clubs in Under Armour that ended up winning it. That had that many McDonald's All-Americans. So it's certainly it's certainly heard of. You can certainly do it. But it's harder now. I always talk about, Claire, how it's like musical chairs now, right? Like, gone are the days where I can just go into a list and be like, I want her, and then I'll go into this state and take her, and her. There's chairs, right? And I have seats in the chair, but so do a lot of other clubs and so do a lot of other coaches. And so it does kind of mix it up. But yeah, 3 on that basketball team, Lindsay Corsaro, Jackie Young, and Dana Evans. 2 of them are actually on the same WNBA team right now.
Best player you have ever coached against?
Oh my God. I coach against the best players in the country every year. It's one of the reasons why people come and play, because that's an experience that you playing with really good players and playing against really good players, playing against really good coaches and scouting reports. That's all part of your construction as a basketball player. To answer that question, I think the easy thing to do is to look at who they are now. Mm-hmm. Like, yes, we've coached against Caitlin Clark. The best player in the EYBL when Caitlin Clark was there, even though they won the EYBL, was Angel Reese. Obviously, people are going to have their opinions on who the best players are now. AZ Fudd, Paige Beckers, Katie Lou Samuelson. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, okay? But the best high school basketball player, I have to determine that the definition was who they were in high school and what they did against me. I'll tell you guys a story, it'll blow your mind. The answer to the question is Sabrina Ionescu, okay, which isn't a bad answer. She's one of the best point guards in the world right now, okay? But we led them with the Jackie Dana team that we were talking about before. We led them at 25.5 earlier in July. We actually played them in the EYBL championship weeks later. We blew that 25-point lead in the second week of July. And in the national championship game, we lost by 60 points. I'm not proud to admit that, okay? But it's just part of the story. Which means that Sabrina Ionescu orchestrated a basketball team from the point guard position that against a team that had 3 McDonald's All-Americans plus 85 in 3 18-minute halves, plus 85 against Jackie and Dana and Lindsay and all of those great players. Sabrina Ionescu that year when she won the Nike National Championship finished, and her coach, her high school coach and AAU coach, Kelly Sopak, is probably one of my best friends on anywhere in the circuits right now. I talk to him all the time. He actually said that she finished the Nike National Tournament that year with 75 assists and 5 turnovers. 8 games. You had to play 8 games to win it because it was pool play, then brackets. 75 assists, 5 turnovers. I mean, that's like we see Tyrese Halliburton put up similar numbers, right? Yeah. And where are they? Hanging out in the NBA Finals. Mm-hmm. So the best high school basketball player I've ever played against was Sabrina Ionescu because she was unbelievable.
So Jackie guarded Sabrina? They were guarding each other?
I don't think anybody guarded her. When you get plus 62, I think you just, they're loaded though. I can't recall, Jack probably didn't guard her, to be honest with you. We probably threw a lot of different people at her. Dana Evans probably got the assignment. If I was coaching that game again, I think I would put all 5 people on Sabrina. But that team had Mignon Moore, she's on the staff at TCU now, but she went to USC before transferring to Oregon. And if COVID didn't take that run away, everybody would know her name because she would be in the starting backcourt with Ionescu for a national championship. Remember, that got taken away from them. But Avina Westbrook was on that team, McDonald's All-American. Akira DaCosta was on that team, McDonald's All-American. That's 2017 and 2018, respectively. Kat Tudor went to Oregon State, was on that basketball team. Mallory McGuire was on that basketball team. Mallory McGuire, if that name sounds familiar, Mark McGuire, relation to Mark McGuire, one of the home run kings in baseball. But that team was probably the best high school team I've ever seen.
What about the hardest worker you've ever coached?
That's a great question. So all of our kids work hard, okay? And falling in love with the process of working hard, it's a relative thing. I'm not going to tell you a name that anybody knows. I'll tell you the name. There's a kid by the name of Mary Wilson. You ever heard of Mary Wilson? Ever heard of Mary Wilson? She was a role player for Center Grove. She's a Division I athlete now, went out to the University of Denver, and is still currently out there playing her college basketball. 2,500 makes a week from the three-point line. Okay, do you count your makes? Count your makes? You do. Yeah. Okay. do you count them daily, hourly, workout wise?
Daily.
You count them daily. How many per day?
So like during school year, around like 500.
Yep.
And then during summer, around 700.
So maybe the answer one day will be Claire Stoops, but the standard is set because Mary Wilson didn't have your natural talent.
Right.
And didn't have your natural talent, okay? She's just a girl, okay? But 2,500 makes a week from the three-point line made her a collegiate athlete. That's working hard, okay? It's easy for Sydney Parrish to walk into the gym and get shots up, right? It's easy for her to do that. It's not so easy for somebody who has to really work at it. And so I commend kids like the Mary Wilsons that are out there that are counting their makes, that are getting out there before and after school, in the morning, in the snow, all of that stuff. But everybody works hard, but those kids like Mary that come to me and aren't Division I prospects, you got to work for it.
Best defender you have ever coached?
Well, I coached the two-time Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. Ariana Harris is the answer to that question, okay? Ariana Harris went to North Central High School. A lot of people, I think, a lot of your audience will probably remember her. Susie Merchant, who used to be the head coach at Michigan State, okay, replaced by Robin Freilich. But when she was there recruiting these kids, she would call Ariana Harris the best high school shot blocker that she's ever seen in her life, okay? She was unbelievable. And she would have the loud blocks that would send it into the fourth row of the bleachers. And she'd also have the very strategic blocks that would ignite our, what I call power plays, just we can get out in the open floor and run a little bit, okay? The other definition of that is that's rim protection, right?
Yeah.
You have to protect the central third. You got to protect the paint, okay? I mean, we've had so many good on-ball defenders. Lamina Cooper comes to mind. She was excellent on the basketball. Sierra Miller was on my basketball team last year, excellent at guarding the ball. But Dana Evans is in the league. Dana would, here's a quick story about Dana, okay? We were getting ready to play at Boo Williams against Megan Walker, who at the time was the #1 player in the country, okay? And we were in our film, I watched film and we were in our scouting report, and I said, hey, Megan Walker doesn't have any weaknesses, okay? She's totally complete. She's a 3-level scorer, high efficiency, she's strong, she's tall, she's fast. Dana, I'm gonna give her to you, okay? And she looks at me and she goes, I don't need any help, we're good, I got you. And that was it, okay? Dana Evans finished that basketball game with 35 points. I don't know why I remember this. Okay, finished that basketball game with 35 points and held Megan Walker to 18 points on 20 shot attempts. And this was, again, McDonald's All-American level kid. Yeah. Dana could guard.
That's tough. As a start, what are the major circuits out there and what age groups do they include?
Yeah, circuits is a big thing in club basketball. Everybody knows that, right? There's the 3 major shoe circuits, right? Adidas, Under Armour, and Nike in no particular order there. And then Select Events is a very nice independent circuit that has Power 24 and Select 40. You ask different people, you're going to get different answers. I think there are 4 major circuits. I think those are the 4 major circuits, and I think it's very difficult now with the way that live periods are structured to get the looks with the reach and frequency that you need to be a college athlete, unless you're on one of those circuits. I mean, I just named 4 circuits, right? Well, how many people are you sending on the road? And you might only be sending 4, right? So one goes to Nike, one goes to Adidas, one goes to Under Armour, one goes to Select. So you girls should know that if you have a coach sitting on you and it's 2, they really want you, right? Because they're leaving somebody, and you guys saw it too in the second live period, right? Yeah. Somebody isn't there on Friday and then shows up on Saturday.
Right.
Well, what were they doing for the 24 hours they weren't there? They were either driving or at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport trying to get to wherever, Texas or Rock Hill, South Carolina, or wherever it is. So yeah, those are the circuits, and I'm sure that we're going to talk about them.
And do they all have like 15U, 16U, and 17U on
all of them do
circuits?
now. They did it previously. 15U is relatively new, to be honest with you. They actually had the option. Let me think. If I remember back from the EYBL meetings, they asked the EYBL if they wanted to have a 4th stop or if they wanted to have 15U. Now, you girls don't realize this, but like it costs money to put those leagues on, right? This is an investment that these shoe companies are making. On the boys' side, it makes all this, common sense would tell us they want the lottery picks that they can monetize. We're getting there with the women, okay? But the 15U levels is really just new in the last couple of years, because now we have a place to bring our youth and get them energized, get them used to playing on circuits, and get used to competing at the summer level. But yeah, 15, 16, 17, all 4 of those have all 3 of those age groups.
Can you talk about the different divisions that are offered with each circuit? For example, UAA versus UAA Rise?
Yes, so there are different divisions, and there are differences, okay? And there's a lot to unpack with this, Vay. So if there needs to be a follow-up question, Vay and Claire, I mean, go ahead and ask it, right? But Nike has the EYBL, they have the EYCL. Yeah. Under Armour has the GUAA, they have the Rise League. 3SB has 3SSB, or Adidas has 3SSB, and then, well, they have what I call it Adidas Gold. You would actually, I mean, do they call it Adidas Gold, right? Okay. And then there's Power 24, and there's Select 40. Under Armour right now, to my knowledge, and it could probably change by the time we finish this interview, is the only one where there's no promotion and demotion within the leagues. In other words, a Rise team cannot win the GUAA. A GUAA team does not go into Rise. That is different in the EYBL. In the EYBL, they left it from a competitive standpoint where an EYCL team actually has one opportunity to play into one of the EYBL pools. Same thing with the Adidas Gold into 3SSB, and it's actually more so, this is a select events model. Select events, it's called Select 40, right? 40 teams, okay? Power 24 has 24 teams, right? It's not rocket science, okay? But they play 2 32-team tournaments at the end of the season, okay? So how do you get from 24 and 40 to 32 and 32? Well, the 8 best teams in the regular season from Select 40 get to play in the Power 24. And then they play 2 32-team brackets. Win you go right, lose you go left. Winners play winners, losers play losers. Only one team wins 5 straight games, and that's your select events champion for the year, okay? Both Adidas and the EYBL and now Under Armour, the 3 of them we've moved to pools, okay? So we are right now playing for pools if you were a coach in those respective circuits. That's interesting because remember that UNESCO team that I was talking about? They actually lost a pool game. They actually came out as a 2 seed, actually, top 2 advance. You can now lose 3 days before the national championship and still win the national championship in 3 of the brackets. And it hasn't been like that for years. It used to just be brackets.
I see a lot of teams with like the E40. What does the E40 mean?
So there's a lot of pay to play, okay? And I don't, speaking to I know there might be some E40 and some Rise teams listening to this, and I'm not suggesting that they paid for their status or whatever, but it costs money. Like we put a team, from a directorship perspective, the money goes to them to allow you to play. E40 is a pay to play. Rise is actually a pay to play, okay? The difference with the rest of them, they pay you to play, okay? So they pay you to have a Nike contract. They give you a set amount of dollars, and it's not equal, okay? Like, I'm just telling you, some are gonna get more than others, okay? Welcome to life. Yeah. But the idea of having different circuits, there's some really smart people and now very rich people that have found a way to monetize youth basketball, essentially, is what happened.
Depending on performance, can you get moved up, down, or even out of that particular circuit?
Yeah, so at the risk of redundancy, Claire, we talked about that. Within Under Armour, you cannot. Within S40, the top 8 teams are going to move over to 24, okay? But yes, like, here's the one thing that is, and we won't experience it, okay? I'm just be honest with you. There are a lot of clubs that won't. But that last day of that first July session, okay? Imagine that last day, okay? It's like conference tournaments in college basketball, right? You win, you go dancing, right? And you don't care if you're a 14 seed, 15 seed, 16 seed, you're dancing, okay? If you lose, likely, unless you get one of the 34 at-large bids, you are likely going to be in the NIT or watching the dance and filling out a bracket the same way the rest of us do, all right? But that last day makes for some really good basketball because there's teams trying to play into these tournaments because, one, they're competitive kids that they want to win, and two, that's where the coaches are going to be. And let's not lose sight of, I mean, at the end of the day, like, kids are trying to make some money, right? Families trying to make some money. So they want their college opportunities, and there is a difference between the size of a baseline on court 1, 2, 3, and 4 and courts 22, 23, and 24.
Yeah. We know you coached in several different circuits. Are there any major differences between them?
Well, I mean, you're starting to hear a lot of similarities, right? A lot of them have gone to pools, a lot of them have gone to the competitions and things like that. Right. I mean, we can sit here and talk about what's the best league or whatever. The best league is the league that works for what you are trying to accomplish for your goals, okay? So in the end, okay, there isn't one. Like, look, is the 16th team in Nike better than the 16th ranked team in Under Armour? Sure. I don't know who that is, right? I mean, the Nike team's probably going to beat the Under Armour team. Does that make it a better league? I don't know if it does, right? Because if this team is sending all of their kids to college and this team's sending all their kids to college, to me that sounds an awful lot like a tie, okay? That we're all in it for the right reasons, okay? But are there differences? Yeah, I think you have to. And there are differences with how the leagues are structured, but there's also differences with where they're played, okay? Under Armour plays a lot in Spooky Nook facilities, okay? Here's what I know about Spooky Nook facilities, okay? Every court that we're gonna play on is gonna be 84 by 50, okay? Can't say the same and when you're in a convention center because you're laying the court down, okay? Now, you've played for me, so you know how obsessed I am with the details, okay? I used to get real fired up about all of that, okay? But when you're in convention centers, it's not abnormal to play a basketball game on a 94-foot floor and then an 84-foot floor the following day and then a 90-foot floor. Like, pace courts out. Like, it'll drive you crazy. Now, one of my basketball teams this year, we like to run and jump, okay? And we fly around and we defend and we get in passing lanes. If you take 8 feet off the basketball court, that means we're one step that you're giving me just on the borders of the court. That's one step you're giving me in defensive rotation. That changes schematically how the game is played, okay? So, look, are there differences? I think the biggest difference doesn't have anything to do with a logo, doesn't have anything to do with players and McDonald's All-Americans and rankings and camps. It has a lot to do with where they're played. And college courts and high school courts and consistencies and things like that, I think it just changes in a vacuum, it changes the way that particular basketball game is played. Like if the Pacers, for example, right? Pacers won't play this series. I'm not an NBA analyst, but I've been around the game for a while. We'll play this thing on 120 feet. Okay, let's go, run with us, right? But those are some of the differences. Rock Hill, beautiful building, right? Yeah. Beautiful building, 84 by 50, every court.
Yep. Are there any limitations based on like what teams you can play for depending on where you live?
Yeah, so the NCAA has a bordering state rule. It didn't always used to be that way, okay? And I don't know if he's the reason, okay, but there's a guy in the EYBL by the name of Tom Insel. He used to run Battle of the Borough, which was the biggest tournament on the planet, okay? It was in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, hence the name Battle of the Borough, okay? He would fly in kids from California, he'd fly in kids from Texas. He'd fly in kids from all over the country, and he would get them to like a weekend, and then they would play it out. They ended up winning the national championship, and it wasn't close. Like when this is before the EYBL, like Nike Nationals, they had kids on that team like Becca Greenwell and people like that. But people started to get real smart, and they started to realize that there was a lot of money in youth basketball, and the ability to fly kids around was available. Okay, now the NCAA was like, this is ridiculous. Okay, so now they made it bordering state, and we're still, we're still operating in the gray when it comes to that stuff. But the only limitation as to where you can play is participation from your high school. Okay, like the number of high school kids, and so you can't roll your high school team out there. You couldn't roll Zionsville out there, okay, or Pike out there. So participation rules, and then the bordering state rule. And it doesn't have anything to do, by the way, with what your club name is. Okay. So, like, for example, if my entire roster was people from Arizona and California, even though I live in Indiana, it's well within the rules to do that.
As a program director, what does a day look like for you after one of the live events?
They're fun. And don't tell anybody that they're not. Like, the one thing that I'm really cautious to not do is complain about the volume of calls, okay? Interestingly, the value of a high school recruit, a lot of people say, has gone down over the years, right? My phone log, and I'm not the only one, right? But my phone log would suggest otherwise, okay? What does that day look like? It's the reason why you ask the question is because you already know the answer. It is me on the phone all day, right? I mean, it's just all day. But here's the one thing that I will tell you is that's not there are a lot of people that are out there that think that all of those calls are just very business-like. Like, hey, have Savayah Mitchell call me, have Claire Stoops call me, whatever, tell me about them, okay? But, I mean, I've done this for 20 years. A lot of these people are my friends, right? I mean, and we share commonalities. Like, we have a lot in common. Like, I coached a kid for 4 years. You coached him for 4 years. Like, we are connected by that kid. So it's a lot of fun because you get to talk to people that you haven't talked to in quite a while, and these are our friends. And you get to talk about basketball all day, which isn't the worst thing in the world. Right. But in the end, the reason why it's fun is because anybody that does this, okay, anybody that sits in this chair between you two, okay, you're why we do this, okay? It's your dreams, not ours, okay? And when you can play Dreamweaver, and I mean, I just know that when I text families with certain schools, I know that is unbelievable news for that family to receive, and for me to be able to have the privilege and the honor to deliver that news makes that day so fun. And it ain't just one day, Vay. I mean, it's still going. I played golf today, and I'm about 10 calls behind.
Can you give advice to like hoopers out there and their families, and like in terms of finding the right fit, like the program that they want to play on?
Yeah, there's a lot of different directions to this. Okay, I will tell you this: I don't think the club matters. I don't think the circuit matters. Okay, I think the adults matter. All right, let's just take all of the adults that you think, remove me, okay? Take all of the adults that you think do a good job in the club basketball space and change their circuit and change their club name and show me what happens. Tell me if there's a drop-off. I don't think there would be, okay? Like, I just don't think there would be, all right? Now, I've coached in 2 different circuits, right? And I'm not going to use myself as an example, but I do think that the adults that are in charge, the leadership that's in charge, the infrastructure of the resources that you provide and all of those things, it really does Under Armour, Nike, and Adidas provide you certain things? Sure, they do. Okay, but at the end of the day, it's empty gyms, right? You know that sound when you're in the empty gym and the whistle blows or that ball's bouncing and it's the first time and you hear that echo, right? Like that's when the real work is getting put in. So the answer to your question, I think it's the adults, right? And I think a lot of people can be misguided by, and I don't know if it's parental. I don't know if this is just me maybe coming from a place of frustration, but look, I play on the top Adidas team in Iowa. Okay, well, I mean, okay, because you're in the same league doesn't mean you're in the same league. Like, who cares, right? I mean, it's who's connected, who can help you, you know, we're talking about dream weaving, right? Who can help you accomplish your goals, things like that. And so I just really believe that the adults that you have and the volunteers, now, not everybody's a volunteer. We'll go ahead and disclose that, right? Not everybody's a volunteer, but those people, it's not their careers, okay? The people there love basketball and they love teaching basketball and they love being around the kids and they love the relationships that are forged. And I'm proud to say, without hesitation, like I'm one of them. Like I just love being around the game and kids.
Any final thoughts on the travel basketball landscape that you think would be helpful for people to know?
Yeah, okay, so yes, there's a lot. And what I'm not gonna do is turn this into a lecture through your podcast about do this or do that, okay? The cliches are out there. Run your own race, trust the process. I mean, we've all heard that stuff, right? Okay? What I can tell you is this. I think the most important thing in selecting where you're going to be from a basketball perspective is just understand that your goals and the accomplishment of your goals might lead you to this being the answer, whereas somebody else and their goals, this might be, okay? And so I think comparisons, we live in a social media world, right? I mean, you guys, look, you get it, right? All right? You see somebody's offer go up, right? Somebody's offer graphic go up, and the first thing that you say is probably, because I know you girls and you're great girls, good for them, okay? But that's not what that's not maybe what your parents think. That maybe not what your coaches think. That maybe not what your teammates think. They might think, why her instead of her? So then automatically there's comparison that's out there. Just forget all that. It's so hard to do, okay? I get it, okay? But if you want to be a McDonald's All-American, you want to play in you want to play in the WNBA, okay? Club basketball is full of teams that are your fourth and fifth starter on your varsity team, okay? Like, and be respectful because that person's got to get some run too. That's the same person you're going to get mad at that isn't playing well in the second half of the sectional final. They got to work on their game too, right? Well, those are two very different scenarios, right? One that wants to be a McDonald's All-American and play in the WNBA, and somebody who's just trying to get better so you don't get mad at them in the sectional final thing, right? So what we can't do is those parents can't compare their kids, this person, can't compare to what this person's going through. You really do have your own process, and you really are running your own race. And in the end, nobody cares who led the race, okay? We just care if we cross the checkers, right? We just care if we sign the letter of intent. That's what it boils down to.
Before we wrap up, we just have a few general questions that could help players with their development. Sure. What separates elite from the rest?
The passion for getting better, okay? The passion for getting better. There are certain things that separate the extraordinary athleticism of a Dana Evans, the unbelievable frame of a Jackie Young, the unmeasurable confidence of a Sydney Parrish, okay? Those three players all McDonald's All-Americans, okay, all worked on their game. And they worked on their game because they, at some point in time, fell in love with the process of getting better. And that's, if you want to be elite, okay, does it help if you have extreme confidence like Sid, extraordinary athleticism like Dana, an unbelievable frame like Jackie? Yeah, that helps. You win the genetic lottery, that absolutely helps, okay? But it doesn't happen without the hard work that's put in, right? So my advice to anybody that wants to be elite, okay? And elite, again, is a definition that is gonna mean different things for different kids, but if you wanna be elite, you gotta earn it, okay? It's the ball bouncing in the open gyms. It's the makes when it's cold. It's the mile that you run when you don't want to run it.
When you are recruiting players for your top teams, what do you look for in that player, and how do you determine if they will be a good fit?
I can't. Anybody that tells you they can is lying to you, okay? I mean, I can't, all right? You know, I just had this conversation with a couple of the club coaches that are really good friends of mine. You know, we were talking about it. My prerequisite is I want them to want to play for me, okay? I'm not gonna beg anybody to play for me, okay? And I think it just sets up bad culture, okay? And now you're talking about, I mean, and I don't guarantee starts and shots and all of that stuff, okay? There are certain things that I do guarantee, okay? Like I guarantee that I can put anybody in a chair to watch a play basketball game, okay? And it's a guarantee that I make very comfortably on your podcast, okay? And we've done it this year, you know, with, you know, talking to some of our 26s, you know, who do you want to play, or who do you want to play in front of, who's not recruiting that you want or whatever. And we didn't call that coach to say, you have to recruit this kid. We just put him in a chair. Rest is on the kid, okay? So I just want the kid to want to be a part of what we're doing, okay? The other piece to it is this. I think everybody probably knows now what I'm all about. Like, you're going to be coached for me, okay? Like, that's just what we'll do. I have what I think is probably a higher standard. Other people have very, very high standards, but my standard for details and instruction and things like that, I think, are there. So when I say that, I know that when I can get into the finer points of a basketball game or a scouting report or a post-game analysis or whatever it is, that I know I can do that, because you should have known what you signed up for. And here's the deal. If it's not your brand of cereal that you like to eat in the morning, then go have breakfast somewhere else. It's totally cool. There's a lot of really good people that do this, that have really high standards, can help you accomplish your goals. Go play for them. It's cool.
Can you describe the difference from being locally good versus nationally good?
So, and it's funny that you asked that question, because I've had this conversation with both of you. There is a difference between local good and national good, okay? The definition for me, okay, is when you go through a high school basketball season, all right, you play on Tuesday night, and let's say you play well, don't play well, win, lose, 20-10, 35, or 4, whatever, okay? You have an entire week to get ready for the next basketball game, sometimes through the weekend, right? I mean, so if you don't play well on Tuesday, Saturday, you still have Wednesday practice, Thursday, Friday, all of that, okay? In AAU, not only do you have not 4 days, but 4 hours to get ready, but the kid that you just guarded has half of the Big Ten that's offered them. And then the night game might have a McDonald's All-American and a future WNBA player, and you have to, in 4 hours, figure out how you're going to adjust your game from one day to the next. And you got to have a short memory. You have to be able to compartmentalize things. You have to be able to look at it as the law of independent trials, okay? But the kids that can navigate that, the kids that can guard five different high major basketball recruits in a matter of 72 hours, okay, and still get their game off, and still be friendly to be around with your family and your friends and all of that, like, that's elite, okay? That's national good, okay? That's national good. And not to say, I mean, we have a lot of kids locally here in Indiana that are national good, okay? And no, that's not a club thing or a Danny Riego thing. There's a lot of really good national people in other clubs. And it's international too. Like, heck, I mean, we got some kids that are going to Europe this week.
You know, like how they go like the 3 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars?
Yeah.
Where does that cut off for like nationally good?
Yeah, so 4-star athletes will be your top 100, right? You get your 4 stars. And that 100 is, you're not going to expand that list until you are a senior to be, okay? So you haven't done it yet. You are getting ready to do it. The first thing is you're going to put 25 watch list players out there. You probably won't be a number attached to it. Then the next step when they expand that list of 25 is it will expand to 60. Those players will all be 4 stars, okay? That's the acquisition of the 4th star. Then they will expand the list and encompass 61 to 100, okay? I do believe that when they go from 61 to 100, I do believe that those kids all acquire their 4th star. The 5th star can be acquired at any point in time, and there's no definitive number as to getting your 5th star. But generally, it's about 25 to 35 players in the country. So let me say that again, okay? 25 to 35 players. That's it. Less than 1 per state get their 5th star. And if you don't get your 5th star, you're not going to be a McDonald's All-American. The likelihood that you're going to be a high major recruit are going to be there, but that's probably where you're going to stop. You're not projected, at least as a high school basketball player, to be a pro. So the romanticism of getting your 5th star is very, very, very big. And it's a goal of a lot of kids to be able to get that 5th star. Now, if you're in right now, I would say in 20, what are we talking about now? 26. I would guess, without looking at Premier Basketball's list, I would guess that they probably have 25-star athletes. They'll probably give the 5th star to maybe 5 to 10 more.
Well, that's all the questions we have for you. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk with us, and we really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. I had a lot of fun.
A big thanks to Coach Riego for joining us. We hope this makes the process a little less confusing for everyone.
It's time for our question of the episode. Who's the hardest team you've played so far this live period, and why?
Okay, so although I haven't played Hoop Code yet, they're tough. I mean, like I said, their constant pressure on defense is amazing, and they score at a really high clip. They have 2 of the top 5 scorers in Adidas right now, Colby Brooks, who averages 19.9 per game, and Jay Bogan. I didn't want to mess up your name, I'm sorry. She averages 17.8 per game, and I mean, they're incredible, but the hardest team that I've played so far in this live event was Della Lamb. I mean, like I said early in the episode, they just really picked us apart with their offensive sets, and they have a really, really good big whose footwork is amazing. And if you double her, they have burners around it. I mean, they just really lit us up. I mean, we were down 3 going into half. I was like, all right, we got this. And then right at halftime, they hit 3 straight threes because we had to go in and dig in the post. So they're really, really tough. Who have you guys played that's the hardest so far?
We played some hard teams, some close games, but I feel like it was the Banshees, however you really say it. But it was because they was aggressive off the bat. They came in just trying to score, trying to win, and I feel like we were more laid back and calm, and we tried to get back, but in 4th quarter we were down 10, but we fought back hard and ended up winning. Amen. And that's a wrap for this episode. We appreciate you for joining us, and please help us spread the word about our podcast. As always, remember to be a dog on the court, but kind off of it.
Run your own race and do what's best for you and your families.
Never listen to the doubters.
And finally, positive energy only. Lift somebody up today.